So let's start the session. Let me greet you all. Hello, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I'm your host, Shaq, and you are tuned into another powerful episode of the Shaq podcast, where we bring you experts from around the world, voices that matter, and insights that truly elevate your journey. Now, today is not just another episode. Today, we have with us a man who doesn't just talk about LinkedIn, he is LinkedIn history. Today's episode of the Shack podcast is not merely an interview, it's a celebration of a legacy, a tribute to one of the most influential minds and benevolent leaders. The I'm I does not have to I does not have words to express his greatness. He's a benevolent leader the professional world has ever known. It is my profound honor to welcome a man whose very presence on LinkedIn has become synonymous with wisdom, generosity, and unwavering authenticity. Jeff Young, globally revered as the LinkedIn guru, is not just a LinkedIn expert. He is the architect of authentic networking, the torchbearer of digital mentorship, and the embodiment of servant leadership in the modern professional era. Jeff has been a pillar of this platform since 2004, a time when LinkedIn was still finding its identity. But Jeff, he already knew what it was meant to become, and he helped shape it. Over the past 3 years alone, this remarkable soul, this remarkable person has delivered more than 200 free LinkedIn workshops, not as a business, but as a calling. He does not seek applause or profit, only the joy of igniting potential in others. He is paid not in currency, but in coffee, conversation, and the occasional square of chocolate. Before his renowned presence on LinkedIn, Jeff has held prestigious positions such as director at Intellinex, a learning venture of Ernst and Young LLP, and served as enterprise project manager at OCLC. His career spans decades of distinction, leadership, and transformation. But perhaps what makes Jeff truly extraordinary is his gracious humility, his unyielding kindness, and his deep seated devotion to helping others, not for gain, but for good. Dear listeners, what you're about to experience is not just a conversation. It's a masterclass in purpose. It's a blueprint of for building. It's a blueprint for building not just a profile, but a legacy. Please join me in giving a warm, thunderous welcome to a true titan of LinkedIn, a global goodwill ambassador, and a man whose digital fingerprint has touched tens of thousands of lives. The incomparable, the illustrious, the deeply respected Jeff Young. Hello, Jeff. How are you today?
I'm overwhelmed. I thank you. Namaste, Shaq. That is one of the finest introductions anybody could ever hope for. I very much appreciate it. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to invite me onto the show in the first place. I've seen your show before. I've seen some of the other folks that I know on your show, and I also appreciate your flexibility. I know it's 9.5 hours later for you, so it's already after 8:30 for you in India, but it's only 11 a.m. Eastern time here, and I have a tough time keeping up with you folks who are living in the future. I really do, but I will try today. I promise.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It is an honor to sit with you on this podcast. It's an honor for the Shack podcast to have a visionary like you. on the session. So, how's the weather outside? Is it sunny?
I'm sorry, say it again.
How's the weather outside?
Oh, no, it's not. It's a little. It was sunny yesterday, but it's a little cloudy today. So
Okay.
hopefully there's enough light streaming in here so that you can see my smiling face. Okay, which is what all I really need to have
You look handsome.
happen.
Okay, so the Superman of LinkedIn, the Superman of LinkedIn. You know, I can only praise you in that way. Okay, so beautiful people have joined in onto the session. The first dignitary, Kevin D. Turner, he has joined us before the session.
Yep.
Before we started the session. So
Speaking of
hello, Kevin.
visionaries,
Yes.
there's
Hello,
one.
Kevin. And the next person is Debbie.
Hello, Debbie. It's nice to see you again. I hope you are recovered from your rock experience in the karaoke that you did the other night.
Hello, Debbie. And the next person is Nira. Hi, Nira. How are you today? And also, Debbie says West Palm Beach, Florida. And we also have Henry. Hello, Henry from Columbus,
Ah,
Ohio.
my hometown.
Okay, well, that's great. And Kevin is here. He says, hello. Hello, Kevin. We were just speaking about you. And thank you so much for joining in before the session has started. And to be very honest with you, I'm gonna have the honor of hosting a session with Kevin as well in the coming future.
That's great. Yep, Kevin's. I'll be in the front row for that one, just as Kevin was in the front row for this one.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, to our amazing audience, to our amazing live audience, drop a hello in the chat. And if you have ever learned something from Jeff's posts, videos, or newsletters, let's show him some serious love in the comments. And if you have ever attended one of his workshops, tell us your biggest takeaway below. Okay, so let's start the session. Jeff, are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Okay, awesome. So, Jeff, the first thing which I wanted to know is your journey on LinkedIn, how it all started, and from where and when.
Well, I was one of the first 600,000 people to actually join LinkedIn. I joined LinkedIn in May of 2014. I saw earlier, quite a bit earlier, that you had actually joined LinkedIn about 10 years later in February of 2014, which is, by the way, it's an interesting little tidbit or tip right now that if you want to know when someone joined LinkedIn, all you have to do is go to their profile, click the more button, and click the next option that says about this profile, and that will give you the month and year that they actually joined. So it's an easy way to see how long someone has been on LinkedIn. Now, as far as the journey is concerned, I joined LinkedIn just because at the time I was actually still working, and someone told me that you need to be on LinkedIn. So okay, I got on LinkedIn. Like most people, though, for the first 4 years or 3 or 4 years, I just kind of let it sit there, though, because when LinkedIn first started, it was really nothing more than an online database, and and to some degree an online resume. I mean, when LinkedIn first started, you couldn't even put a picture of yourself up there. Okay, there was no way to even post anything on LinkedIn, so it was just you putting in the data about you, and so it sat there for a while. And I really never gotten started using LinkedIn until I retired at the beginning of 2008. Now, when I retired at the beginning of 2008, I did not, retirement to me never meant golf or fishing or anything along those lines. Retirement was just going to be my next chapter. So I was going to go on and do something else. And that meant that I continued to want to network with other folks. So when I asked my network, how can I continue to network with professionals even though I'm not working for a living? Every single person said, LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. It has to be LinkedIn. It's the best professional networking platform we've ever seen. So in 2008, what I decided for myself was, well, I'd been on LinkedIn for a long period of time, but I decided that the best way, if I was going to use LinkedIn, for me to learn how to use LinkedIn was to start teaching it to other people. And so that's exactly what I started to do. And so I started teaching it to job seekers because that's kind of where LinkedIn focus and still has some focus on job seeking people now, but back then it was almost totally focused on job seeking people. And so I started teaching it to job seekers. I taught a couple of seminars a month that doubled to 4 seminars a month. That even went up to like 6 seminars a month as far as the process is concerned. There was actually one month that I actually did 9 seminars. And I went, well, when it got to 9, I went, time out. I'm supposed to be retired here. So I may cut back on this just a touch, but I continued to teach LinkedIn. And as a part of the journey and the reason that the LinkedIn Guru came about was the fact that I was teaching it to some folks, and one of the folks that had been to well, probably 4 or 5 of my seminars at the time, and I'm not sure what that says about him or about me. I mean, maybe he's a slow learner, or maybe I'm not that good of a teacher. Nah, not really either one, because LinkedIn even back then was complex enough that it took more than 1 hour's worth of session to learn it. Okay, but the cool part about it was he was a friend of mine, and after the seminar that we finished, he came up to me, shook his finger at me, and in my face, and said, "You know what, Jeff? You're a real guru at this." And I went, "Guru, yeah." I really like the sound of that. Okay. And of course, he made a joke out of it. He said, "You know what guru stands for, don't you? It's an acronym." I said, "Well, I think I understand what a guru is, but what do you think the acronym means?" And he said, "Well, it stands for general understanding, relatively useless." And I went, "I thought you were my friend." so, so from that standpoint, we laughed about it. He was joking, of course. Okay. But I also am not the kind of person that lets that lie for too long. So the next time I saw him, I got him in a headlock, gave him noogies, and basically said, "I'll tell you what GURU stands for. Guru stands for gets to uncover the real usefulness instead." Okay, so from that standpoint, that's where the guru moniker came from. My network calls me the LinkedIn guru. If you look guru up in the dictionary, you see one of the definition words is teacher. And that's exactly perfect for me because in former life and in current now, for the last 17 years, I've been teaching LinkedIn. And over 17 years, that accounts for over 1,000 different seminars. I do nothing but free seminars. It also accounts for over 20,000 different students. And that's not even taking into account the ripple effect of all those possible students that would take my knowledge and start spreading it farther as well. So, and by the way, I, I believe teachers are some of the finest human beings in the world. Okay, and to me, teachers don't teach for the income; they teach for the outcome. Okay, and so when you look, guru up in the dictionary, you see the word teacher, and that's why I've got the boy in blue. Okay, the last son of Krypton. Okay, here's Superman in the background, because I sometimes also introduce myself by saying, "Hi, I'm a teacher." Okay, what's your superpower? Okay. So anyway, most people don't mind it if I disrobe just that far on LinkedIn. So I'll stop
It
there.
was
We can go from there.
That's such an inspiring journey, Jeff. And the main highlight of your journey was showing the Superman T-shirt. I mean, say so it was awesome. It was awesome. I'm going to uh, highlight this clip on my YouTube channel. To my lovely audience, just wanted to let you know that I'm on Instagram and YouTube as well. Please do check us out. To be very honest, uh, see, I've been uploading my podcast session there as well. Check me out there and check out the podcast sessions. They are very informative and interesting. And I'm going to put the link in the comments for you to, uh, uh, check out my YouTube channel. Okay. Speaking of which, Jeff, uh, before before we proceed further, I would also like to discuss about the book which you have written just recently, which is one of the best books.
There we go. I'll model it for you.
Awesome, awesome. So this is the book which you have written and which is one of the best books uh, on LinkedIn. Would you be kind enough to please let us know, give us a small revision of the book, and let us know what can a reader get once he has this marvelous guide on LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning the book. The book came out last September, um, and all of what I have taught on LinkedIn has always had the theme of being effective on LinkedIn. Okay, so which is where the title comes from: "Be Effective on LinkedIn." And so it was really, I think, first of all, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Namaste. Um, First of all, the book would not have been possible. I have to give a shout out to a couple of folks. The book would not have been possible without the efforts and help and guidance of two people, Jillian and Devin Whitney. Okay, and Jillian and Devin Whitney walked me through the self publication process. It's out on Amazon. That's the only place it is on Amazon. So first of all, I got to give them credit for helping me do that because it just wouldn't have existed if I hadn't had that help. Okay. Secondly, the book was not meant to make money. I did not do the book, okay, to make money. Did the book in order to pass along the knowledge and the information that I have accumulated over those 16, 17 years that I've been teaching LinkedIn. So that's the source of the information from the book, okay, is really my newsletters that I published over 32 different editions of newsletters, and the content from those that applied and could be kept as evergreen, okay, that's what I put in the book. And that's, by the way, that's one of the reasons that I'd never written a book in all that amount of time, because of the fact that people would ask me, Jeff, you're fairly knowledgeable on LinkedIn. Why haven't you written the book? And I would tell them, well, actually, I kind of have written a book. It's the book is in my profile. The book is in my newsletters. The book is there. There's a lot of how-to advice there. Okay. And one of the reasons I never wrote a book is because my kind of book would have been really kind of more detailed, well, like I did before, that how-to about how to find where when you joined LinkedIn. Okay. Well, that kind of advice is not what went into the book. If I'd written a how-to book, LinkedIn changes so quickly and so frequently that it would have been obsolete in about 2 weeks. So what I've done is taken instead, what this is really being effective from the high level of how do you approach LinkedIn? What do you do with your profile? What do you do to build your network? What do you do to contribute to LinkedIn and build your brand? Okay, so that's kind of where the book comes from. So, and then lastly, the book ends up being a legacy project for me because that really, I'm not planning on necessarily doing another book about LinkedIn. I think this is for me the culmination of what I've done over the last 17 years or so. And I'd like it to be there and I'd like it to be useful for anyone for the next 17 years because I think LinkedIn, no matter whether they change the details or not, this approach would still work as far as LinkedIn is concerned. That's what you find, okay, in the book.
Awesome. Awesome. The first thing which I'm going to do after this session is to order your book on Amazon.
By the way, there's a link. Of course, there's a link to my book on my profile. It's in my featured section. So all I got to do is go to my featured section and click there. And by the way, I found out not too long ago that in India you can't order a paperback copy of my book. You have to, and apparently there's no print on demand from Amazon in India. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to buy the ebook. You have to buy the Kindle version of it. But that doesn't mean you can't read it. You can read it online, or you can read it, on any smartphone or whatever. So
Awesome. And also, I have got direct access to your profile as well and newsletters. So I can get all the knowledge from there as well. Also, I hope that I can reach out to you directly anytime, only on working hours, on weekdays, not on weekends.
no, of course. Uh, Again, you're living in the future, so give me about 8.5, 9 hours to respond to you, because if you're doing it at night, I won't see it until I get up in the morning. But no, I'd be
Sure.
glad to answer any questions anybody has in the chat, or any questions you might have. That's what I love to do. And in many instances, you talked about how I get paid in coffee conversation and occasionally chocolate. Sometimes I also get paid in a compliment, which you've already given me several of today. And I sometimes get paid by hearing, oh, I didn't even know it could do that. Okay, which is uh, I love to teach somebody something they didn't know about.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Your generosity makes me remember of Liu Bi, king in in ancient China. He was the most generous king of that era, and everybody in his kingdom were very happy because of his generosity. Your generosity can be compared to the kings and emperors of those times. Thank you so much for doing such selfless service to the community. You have my respects.
You're welcome. I've always done it that way. I started out volunteering and doing it that way, and I don't mind if people make money from LinkedIn. You make money from LinkedIn. It makes perfect sense. If you need or want to make money from LinkedIn, yes, you can do that. But I've never needed to do that, and honestly, to some degree, well, to some degree, it's a differentiator. There aren't really very many people out here that give away all of their knowledge. Okay, although the ones that I love the most are the ones who give away any knowledge you want, but because they know that if they give, well, I think it's a Zig Ziglar saying that basically, if you want to get what you want, give enough people what they want, and you will get what you want as well. So that's my attitude from that perspective, and to some degree, it's brought with it. Honestly, Shaq, it's brought with it its own challenges. Okay, because when people find out that I do what I do for free, it's sometimes a challenge because I have to do it at least as good, or sometimes maybe even better than almost anybody else. Because if I give it away and people don't think it's worth anything, then they'll never come back, right? And that's how I built a big following on LinkedIn, is because I give it away, and I give away useful, valuable stuff. So at least I hope so. Anyway, that's what they tell me.
I can say that you pour your heart in your work, and what you give out is nothing but quality, and only quality. Quality knowledge in and we've just uh, uh, joined by Mr.
Uh,
Craig Allen. Apologies
that
for being
is
late. No.
that gentleman. Well, gentleman's not even a good enough word to express my feelings for him, because I have called him my brother from another mother for quite some time now. So Craig and I have been one of these days maybe we'll actually meet physically. But that's another great thing about LinkedIn, is that I've built so many friendships from people like him in as he calls it, Bonnie, Scotland. Okay, and we've traded jokes, we've traded Zoom calls, we've traded. It's just been phenomenal to meet people like him, and like Debbie, and like Kevin. Those those are the way I approach LinkedIn. Is that um, it's kind of one of my philosophies. Is that I don't necessarily connect with everyone who can fog a mirror. Okay, but I do connect with people like you and like Kevin and Craig and Debbie. Those people that I know that I'm going to build a long term relationship with, because that will be nothing but better for me, because I will gain from that experience. And many times, they're better. Look at it this way: it takes a village, or it takes a tribe to I think, to be effective on LinkedIn, because in many instances I can cite different areas for each of these people. They're better at something than I am. Okay, so every single time I benefit from them is when I talk with them and they tell me something about their experience and help me learn something new. Which is, by the way, a good teacher is also a good student, and should be a good student, and learning something new every single day.
Awesome, 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 and no apologies needed, Craig. I mean, say it is an honor, first of all, in the first place, for a person like me to have you on my podcast. Second thing is, we have a saying in India: there are no sorries and no thank yous in friendship, and I hope that I could call you my friend. So Craig, thank you so much for joining in. And Craig says that he also loves you, Jeff.
Uh, what a gentleman! What a gentleman! Hollywood, Hollywood, Ohio.
It is only because of the aura of the super man of LinkedIn. It is his powerful aura that is pulling all the audience to my podcast. Thank
You're
you so
taking
much,
it.
Jeff.
You're taking it global, Shaq. You've got folks from all over the world already here. So
Awesome. Awesome. And folks, everyone who is listening to me, you might feel that I am a bit blabbering, or I'm not able to put my words in place. That is because I'm sitting across with the great one, the one and only Jeff Young, and that is making me tensed. You know, I'm not able to put my words in the correct order. So please, I apologize for the same. So, Grace says, thank you, Shaq. Great
there
to
we
meet
go.
you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so
You can't
much.
make a better friend than Craig Allen, believe me.
Awesome.
And by the way, Shaq, the whole point of this is you know I'm the lucky one here. I'm the one who gets to be with you and have this conversation with you, because I know I'll learn something. I know I will have a good time, because of the fact that you were such a wonderful and authentic host, and prepared me for this in grand style, to make sure that I knew exactly what to expect, and where we were going with this, and et cetera. So again, I thank you. I'll thank you now, and I'll thank you again, I'm sure.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. And look who's here,
There
the
we go.
great
You
Gillian
missed your
Whitney.
Yep, you missed your
Greetings.
shout out, Jillian. I gave you and Devin a shout out earlier, of course, about the book.
Yeah. And I'm so happy to see her. I've been following her YouTube channel, and I hope that it has crossed 1,000 subscribers by now, because I've been following her YouTube channel, and she shares gems of knowledge on all her episodes. I get to learn so much from her. Thank you so much, Gillian. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'm so happy to see you. So moving forward with the session, Jeff. First, let us discuss the important aspects of LinkedIn. So, if I am a university grad who is still in college, um, why it is important for a person like me who's still studying to be on LinkedIn, and to not only to be on LinkedIn, but to make my presence known to other professionals?
Yeah. Well, obviously, you're going to graduate at some point in time, and no time like the present to put yourself out there on a networking platform like LinkedIn, so that you can find an audience, and so that you can put your value out there on LinkedIn. I think, one of the things that's interesting about, I saw a question about, how you make your profile, stand out. How do you make it, more attractive? Okay. You make it attractive by honestly making it not about you to begin with, but and not about where you are currently. Okay. You should always be you should always be focusing your profile on your next thing. You should always be focusing your profile. I make a joke sometimes about, you should always be focusing your profile on what you want to be when you grow up. Okay. Because it doesn't matter what you are now, it matters what you are going toward and what you're going to be doing. Okay. And the way that works is that you use your profile to build your brand. You fill in. I swear there are so many things that I honestly, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what's the biggest mistake people make on LinkedIn? Okay. And honestly, I believe the biggest mistake that people make on LinkedIn is not using it, not learning how to use it effectively and put themselves out there. And if you do it correctly, your profile is going to be as much about your target customer, your target employer, et cetera, as it is about you. Okay, because yes, you need to put yourself out there. You need to talk about your value, but you also need to talk about what problems you solve, what aspects of value you add to other people as well. Now, one of the things that happens there, and the way that you focus your profile enough, is the use of, well, there's an old joke here in the United States. I don't know whether you've ever heard this one or not, but it's an old joke about real estate. What are the three most important things in real estate? Okay. Location, location, location. Okay. So that's the three most important things. Well, what are the three most important things on your LinkedIn profile? Keywords, keywords, keywords. Okay. You have to optimize your keywords. I love the fact that you talk in your profile that's what you do for people, is you help them optimize their profile, Shaq, to make sure that they've got the right things on their profile so they can be found in the first place. Okay. And the keywords are important, and those keywords can be spread all over your profile. And every place that you have the possibility of putting in text is an opportunity to possibly add a strategically focused keyword so that you can get found for what you want. Okay. And to take a page from Mr. Kevin D. Turner's book, to give him credit where credit is due, okay, there's also something that's very important from the standpoint. See, he knows me well enough to know that I'm still not grown up either. Okay? There's also one of the most important things as far as those keywords is concerned is to use what Kevin calls and what LinkedIn calls market value titles, market value keywords. Okay. Those are keywords that actually exist in LinkedIn's database. And if you want to know what those are, wherever you find in LinkedIn that you are typing something in and there's a pull down that will give you examples of something that matches, every single one of those pull down items that pops up when you're typing something in is a market value title. So those are the ones that you should try to use as much as possible, because they are a bigger market value. They will actually help you get found because they're a part of LinkedIn's database, and that means they get searched for more often. Okay. So did that answer your question? I hope so.
You did, in a very, very authentic and insightful way. Insightful. It was very insightful. And Kevin says, no book yet.
He will. Sooner or later, he will.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, that's great. And I hope I get a chance to promote the book. I'm very good at promoting books. Um, I do it through my podcast. I do it through other channels as well. I'm going to do that for you, for sure, Kevin. And MVF rule, Kevin says.
Market value
Okay.
filters. Market value filters is what Kevin usually calls them, right? So yes, those are the ones that are going to help you get found more than anything else. Now, by the way, one of the other things that can help make your profile more attractive is, okay, obviously I've been talking about text because I've been talking about entering text, right? Well, look, they don't call this social media for nothing, okay? So the more media that you can put and help yourself stand out from a branding perspective. I mean, if you look at my profile, you're going to see the boy in blue behind me. He's going to be behind me on my profile as well, right? So the media that you put on your profile is something that you should be able to leverage and make sure that's there. You've done a great job of leveraging your media, for example, in your featured section. Honest to goodness, Shaq, there you'd be amazed that if you go around and you start looking at other people's profiles, how many people don't even have a featured section. They haven't even started to feature anything as far as they're concerned. But there's all kinds of other graphics. There's also kinds of other media that you can put. Obviously, your profile photo, okay, and making that profile photo visible is another thing. Here's I'm not the kind of teacher that gives homework, but for anybody who's on this call who hasn't done this, okay, when you're done with this, go out to your profile, click on your profile picture, and then look in the lower left hand corner and see what it says. If it doesn't say anyone, you should click one on where it says to your connections or whatever. You need to make sure that your profile picture is visible to anyone. That means even people who are not on LinkedIn can see it if they actually find you through a Google search or something along those lines. Okay, so that profile picture is one of the best things that you can ever do. There are lots of best practices as far as the photo is concerned. Obviously, you should be staring. You should be pointing at the camera. You should be looking at who's looking at you. You should be smiling. Okay, you probably shouldn't have your kitty cat Fluffy in the picture with you because it's not Facebook, right? Unless of course you own a business called Paws of Love Treats, okay, where you sell cat treats. Well, then that makes perfect sense for you to put you and your cat in the picture because that's a part of your brand, okay. And another one that at least I think honestly at least 50% of the people who don't get it right is that background photo, that background banner that they don't utilize well enough. They might just have a picture. They might just have a picture of the city where they live, but that tells nobody anything other than maybe where you live if they recognize the cityscape, right? So put words and music to that picture as well. Put your contact information on there because that's the very first possible place that they might actually see your email or your phone number to give you a phone call. It's perfectly fine. You should be able to do that without any fear because it's a graphic. It won't your information as far as your email and your phone number won't get scraped and get sent spam because you put it in your background photo because it can't be scraped out of a graphic, as an example.
Exactly, exactly. For my lovely audience, I am putting Jeff's book in the comments for you to check out.
Thank
It's available on Amazon, and it is my humble request to all of you, please get this book at the earliest.
you.
This is the best books on LinkedIn. You will get to know many aspects. Well, I would let me just put it this way: you will get to know many unexplored aspects of LinkedIn by reading this book.
Thank you. Yes. Well, and one of the nicest compliments I've ever received about the book is that even the people who know me, but most of the people who see what I do on LinkedIn, the book is exactly the same shape, if you will, on in the book as I am on LinkedIn as well. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten about a book is that somebody would tell me that, you know what, I can hear you talking when I'm reading the book. And I love that about the fact that's the way I speak. That's the way I wrote the book. It's a conversation. I'm having a conversation with whoever reads my book, and hopefully I can also, give them something that they didn't know about LinkedIn as well. And thank you for saying that because I explored a lot of different areas, even to some degree, small tools outside of LinkedIn that you might be able to use to help you on.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Craig says he
Yeah, I
has
saw it.
already.
I shipped him a signed copy. Believe me, it cost me more to ship him a signed copy than it got me in royalties as far as the book is concerned. because the book is I didn't talk about the price of the book. I wanted to make the book free, but Amazon would not allow that. Okay, so The Kindle version of my book is 99 cents. Okay, period. End of subject. And in the US, it's $3.99 for the paperback, which is less than the price of a cup of coffee for most of those folks. So that's how I'm giving back my book to the community of LinkedIn.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, Craig has already ordered the book and got the book. So what are you waiting for? Get it right now as we speak. So, uh, as I see that there are many people who have joined in, and I could see around 25 in the audience. I would request all of them to put something in the comments that would give a boost to this live stream, and LinkedIn is going to spread it to other users as well. So please do that. That would be very, very helpful for me. So, and also my audience, please let me know if you've got any questions. If you've got any questions, just let me know about it, and I'm going to put them across to Jeff. I usually offer people to join the special guest on stage, but uh, due to some changes in my rules and regulations which I have on my podcast, I am not able to do that on this session. But
Okay.
I can always convey your messages to the guest, and he would be happy, or should I say, he would love to answer all your questions.
Yes.
So make good use of this opportunity, and take this opportunity to ask him all your doubts about LinkedIn. So, speaking of which, Jeff, I wanted to ask you about a topic about LinkedIn. I wanted to ask this question from a very long time to many people, but I did not get that satisfactory answer. So the same question which I have asked other trainers as well. The question which I have for you is about the LinkedIn headline. Is it important or is it not important? Or if it is important, how important it is, and how to correctly structure your LinkedIn headline and how it can affect you in your job search or your
Mhm.
business?
Okay, well, first of all, it's one of the first things that people will see, okay, because it's up to the top of your profile. It's 220 characters long, so it's minuscule. It's not as big as your about section, but it is one. Remember, I mentioned those market value titles, those market value filters, okay, from before. It's one of the four areas that actually get scanned for those market value filters, okay, and market value titles. The four areas are your professional headline, okay, the 220 characters there, your about section, the 2,600 characters there, your experience section, especially the job titles. Yeah, that's the long version of the link to the book, but that'll work. That'll work in the U.S. probably anyway. So professional headline, about section, experience section, and then your skills. Okay, those four are the four areas where the keywords count the most from a market value filter, market value title standpoint. Now, your headline is unique because it is one of the three things that travels with you wherever you go on LinkedIn. Whether you're commenting, whether you're posting, whether you're doing anything on LinkedIn, wherever you happen to show up, that headline, well, depending on where you show up, at least the first 40 characters or so of that headline will show up, 40 characters out of the 220. Okay. The other two things that follow you wherever you go are obviously your name, okay, and your picture. Okay. So those three things are the ones that can represent you. And that's why your headline is extremely important. Okay. Now, to format your headline correctly, one of the things that you might want to make sure that you do is include, like I talked about, the market value filters. Put those market value titles in there. Okay. That's why inside of my headline, for example, because I want to be found as as a LinkedIn trainer. You're going to see two keywords out there, key phrases out there: LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn trainee. Okay. I want to be found for either or both of those kinds of things, and that's why it leads off the way my headline starts. So that piece of it is important. And again, front loading it is important because sometimes it doesn't display the entire headline. Okay. But keeping it there, and it also gives you a chance. So don't just, the mistake people normally make is that they don't do anything with it and they live what I call the LinkedIn default life. Okay. Which means that it's just going to pop up with whatever the current job title happens to be. And that's all that will be there. It's a job title. Okay, that might not be bad in terms of a keyword is concerned, but there's so much more there that you can add. Other keywords that would help get you found, other things that would help get you found. So, and that it is also 220 characters of possibility in also telling people what you bring to the table as far as value is concerned. Okay. It's one of the first places where I set the stage for me because of the fact that I talk about the fact that if you're going to look at you're going to look at mine, it talks about the fact that I'm a teacher. It uses the hashtag the LinkedIn Guru, which is my brand, right? And it also is one of the first places on LinkedIn that I talk about the fact that I don't get paid to do this. So that's setting the stage as quickly as possible for me to let people know that I volunteer. I'm a teacher. I'm a LinkedIn teacher, and I get paid in coffee, conversation, and occasionally chocolate. Okay. So it's not just keywords. It's also a little bit of your brand. It's also a little bit of your personality. It's one of the places in the text that is front and center that will help you stand out and differentiate yourself if you manipulate it and get it right. And oh, by the way, that's not what my profile professional headline said to begin with when the first time that they ever created it, because there was no such thing as a professional headline when LinkedIn first started. So from the time, I've been changing it over time and refining it to try to get it to be exactly what I want. Again, focusing on where I want to be, what I want people to know about me, what I want to be when I grow up. What I want to be when I grow up is obviously a LinkedIn teacher. Okay, maybe I've been doing that for a few years. Okay, but the point of it is I want to continue to do that in the future. That's why that's in there. Does that help tell you what? There's only 220 characters, so think about it and strategize on what you really want to put in
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that insightful answer, Jeff. And joining us is Stephen Ranking, and he's one of my good friends from LinkedIn. And he says, Steve Ot and health and wellness educator here, stopping by to learn again. He has been a regular, person on my podcast sessions. I had a podcast session. I had the honor of hosting Derek Meldrick. I think you know about Derek, so he was there as well. So he's my dear friend, Stephen. And thank you, Stephen, for showing up. And thank you so much. And I appreciate it. Thank you. So I got the answer, Jeff. So LinkedIn headline is important and it does matter for both the job seekers and the business owners.
there. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So we need to make sure, is there, I mean, say, do you think or do you have a formula for a perfect headline? Or can you suggest any pointers for creating a good headline? Yeah.
Well, the part of the formula that works best again is to front load it because the first 40 or 50 characters follow you everywhere. I think it really needs to contain some, but not necessarily be only keywords. Okay, so that's why LinkedIn training, LinkedIn trainer in mind. But it also, again, it's one of the, oh, thank you, Greg, for reiterating that. Okay. Uh, but it's also one of the places where, again, you can at least show a little bit of personality. I mean, in mine, as an example, and this may not be for everybody. Well, okay. let me say this, and then I want to couch this in terms of why, as a teacher, I say this. Okay, I say this because it fits my brand. Okay, my brand, being the LinkedIn Guru, has Namaste and two emojis in my headline. Some people say it's good to put emojis in your headline. Some people say it's not. Okay. I say it's up to you. What do you believe would be best, and what would best show your personality and your brand? Okay. So that's where I think the rubber meets the road in terms of what you put in there has to match the way you really who you really are. Okay. And and by the way, again, I've been teaching this for 17 years. I got to say this about teachers as well. Okay, I believe the best teachers in the world show you where to look, but they don't tell you what to see. Okay. So I'm not telling you you've got to do it the same way as I do necessarily. Okay. All I'm telling you is that I've done it this way. And the reason I've done it this way is because of the fact that I want you to see how that works. And it has been successful for me. I can't promise you it will be necessarily successful for you or not. But the point is, I know one way to be successful, okay, and that's what I've done and what I've learned over the 17 years I've been teaching.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. That is exactly the answer I was looking for. Thank you so much for that insightful answer, Jeff. So speaking of which, guys, if you've got any questions regarding your LinkedIn headline, or if you want Jeff to analyze your LinkedIn headline and help you with your LinkedIn headline, follow him and get in touch with him in his DMs. And speaking of DMs, Jeff, direct messages on LinkedIn, are they relevant? Does they Are they of any importance? And if they are important, direct messages on LinkedIn, if they are important, so how important they are? Does that give any signal to the algorithm that to show the post of the person, or show the post of uh, the person to the person who this person has a direct link with the DMs? So
Yeah.
what do you think about this? Could you please
Yeah.
enlighten us?
DMs are direct messages are a fabulous place for interacting with your network, especially on a one-on-one basis. We've also, I mean, there's several people on this call, as a matter of fact, that I'm a member of a DM group with. So we have a group conversation going on. Okay, DMs are, I mean, they're a method of communication that's just as fabulous as a text message. When you've got somebody's phone number and you can send them a message back and forth text wise, because it's a great way to communicate. Now, DMs are also another way that you can differentiate yourself, because it's not just text. I know that, for example, Debbie Williams likes to talk about and tell people about the fact that DMs can also be voicemail. They can also be an audio message, which obviously, if you hear my voice, you're going to hear the inflection in my voice. You're not going to just see the text words. You're going to see the emotion, okay, in my voice, right? You just heard. Yeah, now, I'd have to make that in caps in order to do that, in a DM, but it still doesn't come across as much, impact if you did a voice message, okay, an audio message. In addition to that, there are ways of doing video messages back and forth as well. DMs are a great place where I've actually taught people that if I'm in a conversation that's going back and forth with folks, and we want to take it to the next level, you can actually start a video conversation in the DM where that person and you person can be doing exactly what we're doing right here, talking to one another, looking at one another, seeing whether or not they're smiling, seeing whether or not they're getting sleepy because you're putting them to sleep with, with your boring answer, okay, or whatever, okay. That's great, because that can all happen through the DMs as well. So it's amazing how effective that can be. Now, from an algorithm standpoint, the LinkedIn algorithm, I don't want people to concentrate on the LinkedIn algorithm, but I want them to understand that in general terms, okay, the LinkedIn algorithm loves activity, and DMs are activity. Okay. So a direct message back and forth is activity that that's going to help you in terms of LinkedIn activity. Therefore, you are going to show up higher. Therefore, you're going to ultimately have a little bit more reach. Now, there may be people who would differ with me on this one, but I would tell you that DMs are great from that perspective and communication standpoint. What I would tell you that's probably better from an activity standpoint, though, is actually comments like these folks are making on this post right now, because this is a live. It'll go live. It'll be a post. It'll have a certain number of comments. It'll have a certain number of reactions. It'll have a certain number of reposts as well, because I reposted it in order to make sure that my network saw the fact that I was going to be on your show as an example, right? So so if you're comparing the two, I'd say comments has more effect than DMs, but don't ignore them, because DMs are a great communication tool. Comments to me is a great way of starting a conversation with someone, even a person that I'm not connected with. Because no matter what it is, if you see someone's post, you can go out there and you can comment on that post, and you don't have to be connected with them. So you can start a conversation. You can ask a question in the comments. I love it when people ask me questions in the comments, because that gives me an opportunity to pass along some knowledge that they needed right there as well, right? So again, that's a lot more than you asked for as far as DMs is concerned, because I spilled that over into comments, but I think they're both important. And again, from an activity standpoint, one of the other things that I've found to be really important as far as LinkedIn is concerned is that you need to post probably at least once a week. I don't know that this is the right formula or the wrong formula. I know people who post 3 times a day, okay? But I'm doing as well as those kind of people, and I only post once a week. So, the activity is what's really key, okay? But posting and commenting, for me, I comment a whole lot more than I ever post, because on an average, I will do one post a week, but probably 50, 60 comments for every one post that I do. Okay, which again, LinkedIn loves the activity. LinkedIn helps keep you alive, keeps you in front of people when that activity happens, and that's a great way to build your brand and build your show your intellectual um, you know, expertise, if you will, okay, by putting it out there. And when I say comment, I guess I should say this, because I should never say you should comment without saying you need to make your comment valuable as well. Something where you go and you type in nice post is not a comment. Yes, it is, but it has little or no effect when it comes to the algorithm standpoint. So it needs to be a comment that is longer and adds value to the conversation, and is improves the communication back and forth, as opposed to just something that says nice post or good job or whatever. Okay, that's too small. That's too short. That's complimentary. That's nice, but you know, it doesn't really
To put it in simpler words, comment from the heart, not an AI comment.
help. Perfect. Yes. Say what you mean. Say what you feel. Okay. There's an old Dr. Seuss quote that says, "Say what you mean. Say what you feel, because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind."
Exactly. I totally agree with that. So I have a small question from a lady, Lubna Asgar, and she is asking, does your headline reflect who you are and why you want
And
who
who
you
you want.
want?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think it's both. I think it should cover both of those kinds of things. Okay. The who you are is especially there from the standpoint of the keywords. Okay. That's why mine says LinkedIn training and LinkedIn trainer, right? But it also says, that I do this for free, and I want to continue to do it for free, et cetera. So yeah, it's both those things that are important. Okay. Because again, every opportunity you get, you should be telling people what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you want to do, okay, as well, who you want to be when you grow up, because you never know, somebody who might read that and be able to actually help you get there, okay, from a networking standpoint.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for giving that answer. I think, Lumna, you got your answer. Thank you so much for showing up, Lubna. I appreciate it. So, moving forward, Jeff, I want to ask you about AI. Should I go ahead? AI, it has been, I mean, say it's progressing at a very rapid pace.
Yep.
And, every day there is a new advancement in this technology, artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence on LinkedIn, do you think using artificial intelligence on LinkedIn is the correct way to conduct ourselves professionally on this platform? Should we use AI for our comments, DMs, and other stuff? There are automation tools as well available, which is not very appreciated by LinkedIn. So, what do you have to say about AI on LinkedIn?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm no AI expert. Okay. I've toyed with AI. I'm starting to get used to finding out what AI might be able to do for me. Okay. One of the reasons that I honestly don't recommend AI as such on LinkedIn or within LinkedIn is that the what LinkedIn has done is made it such that you can't use AI unless you pay for LinkedIn. Okay. The free versions of LinkedIn can use AI, but you have to be an outside program like ChatGPT or something like that to generate something and then bring it inside of LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn also has AI inside of LinkedIn as well. I think more than anything else, you're going to get better. It's not going to go away. Okay. So I would not ignore it. I would definitely, advise people to not ignore it. You need to start to get up to speed on it and understand it and how it works because it can help you write your about section. It can help you comment, etc. Okay. That's fine. But again, make sure that whenever you're using a tool, okay, that you are using the tool to its best advantage. And in the case of AI, I think what that is, the best advantage is to generate some ideas, generate something for you to take a look at and then make it your own. Okay. Don't, because there are so many comments that I will see out on LinkedIn that I can tell that AI wrote that comment. And that's not really very useful. And it doesn't really bring apart. I think the word that you used earlier in the day, and I'll use now again, is the authenticity of what you would normally say there. Okay, so if you use it to generate an idea and then you make it your own and it comes out as an authentic statement. If I'd used AI to write my book, it wouldn't sound like me. Okay, it just wouldn't sound like me. So the point is, generating that is something that's there. Use it for the best use that it can be made of now, which is to generate ideas to and then make that your own. But I almost, from my experience, this again is just my experience. You may folks may have experienced this differently, but from my experience, it's always generated something that I would never use as such verbatim. Okay? I would always make a change to it to make it more me, to make the tone more me, to make it sound more like me, etc. Okay. Now that's AI. By the way, you mentioned automated tools. Okay, and you're right. LinkedIn hates automated tools, especially bots and those kinds of things. So I highly recommend that you shy away from those and understand which automated tools, which plugins, which extensions that LinkedIn approves of. Because if you don't, then unfortunately, LinkedIn uses AI to monitor those kinds of things as well. And if LinkedIn finds you doing that, you could get your account shut down, and you do not want that to happen. Okay. Even though you didn't really mean it in any malicious terms, you were not trying to spam anyone necessarily or anything like that. So using automated tools is a double-edged sword. Let's put it that way. Okay, so be careful about using any automated tool of any sort.
Well, the last thing which I want is to get banned on LinkedIn. And anybody of that sort, to be very honest, whether he is a business professional or a job seeker, doesn't, I mean, say LinkedIn has now become a lifeline for people who are in the business world. who are people who are looking for jobs. I mean, see, it has become so. I mean, see, it has become a necessity in the modern world right now that nobody can afford to lose their identity online, especially on LinkedIn. So the last thing which I want is to get banned on LinkedIn. So it's better that we stay away from third party automation tools. Thank you so much, Jeff, for enlightening us on that part. Okay, so speaking of which, um, uh, I'm having some questions from the audience, but I'm going to take it at the end of the session because there are important questions which needs our special guests' attention. Okay, so important questions. Now I'm going to start very important questions, which can result into if we follow these do's and don'ts, it can result into we thriving on LinkedIn or we getting banned on LinkedIn. So it's very important to know these things. It has to be these are basic stuff, and everybody needs to know this. So it has to be discussed, and it's important. So, Jeff, with your kind permission, I would like to proceed further with important questions. The question number one uh, is going to be about how to avoid or what we should not do in order to keep our accounts safe, how to avoid getting banned on LinkedIn. What are the things which will result in permanent shutdown of your profile and
Well, oh, okay, go ahead.
yeah, a permanent shutdown of your profile and never getting it back
Oh,
again.
well, I don't know. I don't know too many people who have actually had it permanently shut down, but I do know people who have had it suspended, and we talked about that previously. Using automated tools is one of the ways that can happen. Okay, what I would recommend is that folks take a look at and make sure they understand in the actual LinkedIn user agreement, which almost nobody ever read when they actually said okay to when they accepted it at the beginning. In the actual user agreement, there are do's and don'ts. Okay, I mean, one of the things that is even a do or don't is that one of the things that people didn't realize, and I've not seen it happen very frequently recently, but one of the things is that when you are using your name on LinkedIn, one of the things that LinkedIn says is that the only thing that belongs in your name is your name. Okay. So, by the way, for example, at one point in time, some time ago, I actually had the LinkedIn Guru in my name field on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn suspended my account. Now, it's been many years now, but LinkedIn suspended my account because I had more than just my name in my name. Okay. And they allowed me to put it back after they told me that was what the problem was, and I could correct it, let me back on and correct it, and then I was okay. So my point being is that if you go to the help and if you go to the help, which by the way is under the me symbol on every just click on me, then click on help, then basically look up something called user agreement, and then take a peruse through there to see the do's and don'ts that LinkedIn puts, because there's too many for me to explain today. Okay, but the big ones are automation tools. The big ones that I will guarantee you will not get restricted. Your account will not get banned if you post too much on LinkedIn. Okay. However, if you post about certain kinds of things like politics and those kind of things, it is possible that you could. Okay, so again, you need to understand those kind of things that it's not about the frequency; it's about what the content is. If you are racist, if you are doing something that would be considered harassment, as an example, okay, on LinkedIn, Okay, if you're a troll, for lack of a better term, those kind of things are the kinds of things that might get you suspended and or banned. Okay, but so it's a community, and the point is that LinkedIn is trying to make this community the best uplifting and inspiring community as possible, and those kind of things are detrimental. So that's why it tries to keep those things out of LinkedIn.
Awesome.
By the way, having a fake account would get you banned as well. Okay, and I see fake accounts all the time, but fortunately, I don't interact with any of them. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for that enlightening answer. And I really appreciate you telling us the most important do's and don'ts, while it is very difficult to discuss all of them in this short session. Speaking of which, you've spoken about fake accounts. What is the number one thing to look for to identify a fake or a genuine profile?
Well, for the most part, usually you can easily tell if they don't have a background photo, they don't have an actual photo. They are one of the things that I told you about before. One of the things to look at is go to the person's profile, click the more button, and click about this profile. If they're fairly new, okay, that could be an indication that fake account has just been created. Okay, so and it's really kind of a judgment call. Obviously, someone who's brand new on LinkedIn might not have uploaded a photo yet, but you also see what they're doing as well. A lot of the fake accounts that I've seen don't really contribute any content. All they really do is go out there and comment. Okay. And those comments are the ones that I talked about before, nice post, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, 2-word comments. Okay. So, so the way their profile looks is important. How much of it has been filled in is important to identify a fake profile. The kinds of activity that they've done, okay, or lack thereof, okay, is a way to find a fake profile as well. And I highly recommend that if you really think this is bad, you should say so. You should tell LinkedIn that it's there because they won't know unless you identify it. Okay, so there are ways. You can always go into the profile and use the three dots that are a part of the profile up in the upper right hand corner, and you can mark a profile as fake. And I've done that many, many, many times.
Awesome. Awesome. So we should go ahead and report the concerned profile.
Yeah,
If you feel if you feel anything off about that profile, we should go ahead and report that profile. And also, the second part of the same question would be, what do you have to say about the verifications? Do they do they matter, or do they help us identify a fake and a genuine profile, or how is it? Because in Belgium, there does not require an identification, and in US, you need a third party to verify your IDs.
right.
So, is it safe to get your profile verified?
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn brought the feature of verification to the forefront because of what we've been discussing, because of the fact that at one point in time, I heard statistics that said that there were, 10 to 20% of the possible profiles that are out there, 1 million profiles, somewhere between 10 and 20% of them might be fake. Okay. So LinkedIn's added that. I don't think it's required yet as such, but I do believe it's a plus and it's helpful that if you've been able to get verified through a third party or et cetera, that would be helpful to identify you as a not as a fake account. Okay, and one of the other things that I think is important to understand about why LinkedIn thinks it's important, as an example, is because LinkedIn's made this available for free. Okay, so again, if anybody needs any help, I'll send them to the links that talk about verification. Okay, but you verified. I noticed that you had verified. I thought that was great, and it depends on where you are in the world and what country you're in, and et cetera, as to how the verifications can be done. But there's several different alternatives, and what I like about it is that if you find anybody else's profile that's been verified, okay, click on that little verification symbol, the little shield that has the check mark in it. If you click on that, it will open up and it will show you the verification and how they were verified. But there's also up at the very, very top of that a very helpful piece that is the link to the help where it says learn more. And if you click learn more about how to be verified, you will go to where I would send you in the help, and it will tell you all the different alternatives and how you can get verified if you would like to do so. So again, I don't necessarily think it's a requirement, but I do think it's absolute plus that when I look at someone's profile, I like seeing the verification symbol.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I too would like to see the verifications on the profile before trusting anyone in this cyberspace, because you does not get to know the person in person, but only is we only see the LinkedIn profile or what is available to us on our computer screens. Speaking of which, I have got three sub questions uh, of the same topic. I mean, see, I've got three questions combined as related to the same topic. So, if there are, I mean, say, if I'm not sure if anybody is into the cyberspace or into cybersecurity, they would understand this. The concept about cyber stalking, which is very very common thing on other social media platforms, cyber stalking, and also you know some weird DMs appear in our inboxes sometimes, especially for female users. So my question is how to deal with cyber stalkers and how to deal with you know people who are running a romantic scam on LinkedIn and trying to creep up into the inboxes of uh, female users on LinkedIn. So please let us know about that.
Yeah, that's one that just is just unacceptable. Again, that's the same thing as I talked about being a troll or being racist or being harassment. Harassment would be part of that one, for example. The good news is that again, if people know how, whenever they receive one of those messages, they have the opportunity to use the three dots, what I call sometimes the magic three dots, and report it. Okay, so definitely report it every single time. LinkedIn will actually take that into account. And if you want to, at the same time, the second option is to actually block that person. And if you report and block that person at the same time, you'll never hear from them again, ever again. And so that's the only that I would recommend you take that amount of time to do it. Okay, but don't spend any other time on it. Just block, report them, block them, and move on and go on to the next person because I've personally just do not have time to talk with someone who's cyber stalking, to talk with someone who sends DMs that are sales oriented DMs, et cetera. I just don't need to go there. I'd rather have a conversation like we're having today in terms of passing along value and having a great conversation and learning something, rather than being sold to or rather than being harassed. Especially from a lady's standpoint, harassed because of the fact that of my sex or any other creed or etc. So no, just don't go there. Just get rid of them and go on, move on.
And also, one of, I mean, say, uh, a person, Joanne Gibbs, and this is a very important question to be very honest. And thank you so much for bringing this up, Joanne. And Joanne says, and this is important too. I mean, say, I have decided that I would take the questions at the end of the session, but this is related to the question which I was just asking. So Joanne says more about the scammers with false job offers or for interviews and people responding to reach out to Gmail accounts for help. And the second part of the question is the Gmail accounts are for help getting a job, but more likely to charge you for rewriting your resume. So, Jeff, could you please answer these
Yeah,
questions?
no, thank you for bringing that up, Joanne, because That's another one that again has recently changed and is getting better and better as well. That does happen. Fortunately, it doesn't happen frequently, but the never give your email out, you know, to anyone. And the messages on LinkedIn are one thing, but never ever give your email out to someone that unless you absolutely know them and absolutely trust them. That's just the bottom line. Okay. But when you mentioned, I thank you for bringing up the fact that some of the jobs that are out there are job offers, for fake jobs as well. LinkedIn has realized that that is happening as well. And I don't know whether you folks knew this or not, but remember we talked about a verification for a profile? Well, now there are actually verifications for jobs as well. So you can actually go out and you can make sure in the all filters when you're searching for a job, you can actually one of the filters is there that this is a verified job. So you can eliminate all the rest of those if you only want to focus on and concentrate on the verified jobs out there, and they'll have the same symbol on them as well. So that's important as well. So again, I wouldn't give my email. I won't give my email to a blood relative unless they take a DNA test. Okay. So never give that kind of information out. But also understand that LinkedIn realizes that this is a problem as well, so that there are methods and ways that you can actually make sure that a job is a real job because it's coming from a verified source.
That's great. I mean, say, thank you so much for bringing this up, John. I would really want to thank you because job scams are very, you get to see them very often on LinkedIn. I've seen them very often. I've got a friend, Russell's Irby. He tried to expose these scams, and yeah, if LinkedIn is taking an initiative to verify these jobs, that would be great. To be very honest, in the first place, the job seeker is already in a tight spot looking for a job, and these pesky scammers try to rip them off by offering some resume writing services or whatever they are offering. I'm not sure, but they try to mess around with already troubled job seekers.
Yeah.
So to avoid the hassle, just go ahead and follow the instructions given by Jeff, and I promise they would never appear in your DMs. And speaking of which, Jeff, as you are on the show right now, would you wanna, or I wanted to request your kind self, could you please give names of genuine resume writers if you know anyone, uh, where people can reach out to or speak to or cross verify their jobs and stuff like that? Anybody in the recruitment space, I would really appreciate that.
Well, I could start to list quite a few because I know a lot of people who are helping job seekers. But I also know a lot of people who help other businesses as well. So I'm gonna pass on that one. I think, Shaq, because of the fact that I don't want to forget anybody. Because I probably know at least a dozen different people. So if anybody's interested in a particular area or something along those lines, definitely drop me a DM or something like that. Maybe I can help. But I don't want to start listing them because I know I would miss someone that does a great job, and I would not want
Awesome, awesome. That's also great. I mean, say if anybody is looking for genuine help, reach out to Jeff, and he's going to point you in the right direction. What do you have to say about that? So that is also one way of showing his kindness and generosity to you. Pointing you in the correct direction also is a great virtue. So, speaking of which, moving forward, I would want to ask you about the hashtags. Are they dead on LinkedIn or are they still relevant? And if you are using them, how many you should use?
to. Well, I'm still using hashtags. Okay. And to use paraphrase what Kevin talks about it as well. I'm still using them because they still work. Okay. Now the problem is that LinkedIn has well, the technical term is they have deprecated them. Okay. And unfortunately, that means that LinkedIn has taken them out of the algorithm and said they're not as useful as they used to be in LinkedIn terms. Okay. The problem with that is that the reason that LinkedIn did that is because they work. Okay. Hashtags actually take over the content stream from LinkedIn, and actually it can affect LinkedIn's revenue because it takes them someplace else. So they have not allowed hashtags to be as widespread, and you can't look up things on hashtags. They didn't stop you from following hashtags. If someone wants to go to one of my posts and click on the LinkedIn Guru, it'll still bring up something that will allow you to follow that hashtag. But then they won't be able to show it to you unless you go to a direct link that shows you exactly what's happening with that hashtag. So LinkedIn has downplayed. Okay. And again, the reason LinkedIn has downplayed them is because they work. Okay. And they have not, where they have not downplayed them is in the long form content, not posts, but articles and newsletters and things like that. Using hashtags in those forms will still get you, okay, indexed outside of LinkedIn and be able to be found as far as a Google search is concerned. Okay, so for example, if you want to prove that hashtags are still valid and are still useful, okay, go out to Google and search for one of them. As a matter of fact, use mine. Go out to Google and search for hashtag the LinkedIn Guru. And I guarantee you, you're going to find 2 or 3 pages of just my stuff. Okay. Now that won't happen inside of LinkedIn, but it'll happen better outside of LinkedIn now because again, LinkedIn has deprecated them inside of LinkedIn, and they didn't eliminate them. Okay. They didn't say they're not allowed. They just said that we're not going to give them any boost of any sort. And that's really, so I still think they're important. I still think they're definitely a part of your brand. Okay. Because again, I've been using the hashtag the LinkedIn Guru for some time now, and it has really made a huge benefit. As I said, if you go searching for it on Google, you're gonna see my stuff, and it's pretty much only my stuff. So I think they're still important.
Awesome. I think I should follow your footsteps and create a hashtag of my own, Shaq Consultant or Shaq Podcast.
Yeah, it's hashtag Shaq podcast. It would be a great one, I would think, because that should be unique. And that's another way that I've become unique is using a hashtag that makes me unique. Okay. And built a brand.
Awesome. I hope Shaquille O'Neal is not listening to this.
Yeah.
Hey, Shaq, you're the real guy, but I'm also Shaq. It goes with my name, Ishak. So basically, what happened was people were having uh, a hard time pronouncing it. So I removed the I, and you know,
Yeah.
I'm using the uh, remaining part, Shaq. So anyhow, a sub question or a question related to the same question which I've just asked about the hashtags. What do you have to say about forced engagements, which means tagging someone in your posts? What happens when you tag someone? What happens when they does not respond and when they respond? Because I have seen a change or a drop in the number of impressions when you tag someone in your posts.
Yeah.
Please enlighten us on that as well.
So yeah, the algorithm again, it really rewards activity. So I like it, and I think it's the proper etiquette on LinkedIn that if someone has commented on your stuff, you need to comment back. See, so over the next 24 to 48 hours, I will try to comment, on all the comments that have come in for this one, for example, okay, because that will help you, that will help me, okay, all of that is good. So don't. I think the key is that don't ghost anybody, okay. Give them proper etiquette that says you should actually interact with them. You should actually have the conversation with them. Okay, you wouldn't just hang up on somebody, right? You would, it's just not the proper etiquette. Okay, now from the standpoint of impressions versus engagement, I don't get hung up a lot on the number of impressions something gets necessarily, as long as you can do something that I've done in the past and I've seen done for many years now, and that is calculate a favorable, what I will call engagement percentage. Okay. Now, to explain what engagement percentage is, it is basically the number of reactions plus the number of comments plus the number of reposts, or in any form. Okay, take those three, total those three, and divide them into the number of impressions. Now, don't think that you're going to get big numbers here. Okay, but if you do that division, you're going to come up with something that, if it's working, okay, if it's really doing something valuable, it will probably be somewhere between 3 and 5%. Because of the fact that, look, no matter what if anybody out here thinks that when they put out a post or a live like this or whatever, that they're going to reach the 1.2 billion people that are on LinkedIn, that's just ridiculous. That's never going to happen, right? The algorithm is such that it's only going to show it to your network and only a certain portion of your network, et cetera. Okay, so the impressions is going to be the impressions over time. But what can change and what should be more meaningful to you is how many people engaged on it, how much that happened there. So take the total reactions, total plus the total comments plus the total reposts, and divide it by the total impressions, and you'll get an engagement percentage if you multiply it by 100. And as long as you're fitting in that 3 to 5%, you're doing great. You're doing better than almost everybody out here on LinkedIn. Okay, if you actually get a great one that comes up to more like 10% or higher, you're really doing well. Okay, so I've always used that formula to make sure that over time I'm really doing well. I mean, I can even tell you, based on my analytics today, for example. Okay, on Mondays I check my analytics and I look at the total number of impressions for the last 365 days, and then I take the total number of engagements over that same time period, and again I do that division. So I'm doing it on a broad perspective as well, right? You can do it on a post by post basis, but I'm doing it across an entire year as well, to make sure that I'm still valid and doing what I need to be doing to stay active and stay where I need to be, right? So as long as I'm fitting into that 3 to 5%, the 5% range, I'm doing fine, and I don't need to make too much of an adjustment. But you can adjust on the short term. Okay. More than anything else, to me, it's not about the number of impressions. It's about the value that you put out there in your posts or your comments or whatever, because that will get you more feedback. That will get you more interaction. That will get you more opportunities than you would have if you were just treading water and not really trying to add value.
Awesome. Awesome. Yep, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. And thank you for that insightful explanation about the hashtags and about the mentions in your post. Also, this question is also related to the same question, to the hashtags and the force engagements and the mentions. What do you think about putting links, outside links, in our posts? Does they kill your reach by any chance?
Well, that's an interesting one, because I actually did a test of that the other day. Mm-hmm. I actually almost always have at least one link. Okay. Because every post I do now at the bottom, as far as kind of a template is concerned, I also put in a link that goes to Amazon, because I'm trying to tell people about my book, right? So I've got at least one link in there. Okay. So now about a week or so ago, what I also did was say, all right, I really didn't mean to do this to begin with, but what I put in there was kind of like, here's my high five tips that I would give you for this week, right? And so if you go back, you're actually going to see an old reference to the Top Gun movie, where the two guys are doing the high five on the tarmac. Okay, that's my high five tips, right? All right. So the point was that I didn't put just one link in that one. I didn't put just two links in that one. I didn't put three links in that one. I put 6 links in that one. Okay. Now, then I said in the comments, I'm doing an experiment here. I'm going to do an experiment that says, I wonder if this one that has 6 links will be less or better than the one that had only 1 link. Okay, do links really make a difference? Well, they make a difference if they're not valuable. They make a difference if they're not, useful, etc. Because I will tell you that within 9 hours of actually having posted that post, within 9 hours, that had outperformed the week before's post already. Okay, so it was pretty obvious to me that links did not make a difference in that. There are people who still say they do. They maybe do, but it didn't in my case. So that's where I'm going with it. I'm not going to worry about if I need to put a link in there. I'm going to put a link in there. How's that? That's my decision process on it, because I think it's better if you can give somebody that link that will help them versus not having put versus having to even put the link in the comments. I don't even bother going there anymore. I don't even do that
anymore. Okay, I agree with that. Thank you for explaining that in such a thoughtful way and explaining in such a simpler, putting it in a simple way. Thank you. And speaking of which, there is one discussion which is going on LinkedIn from past year, I think from October. It started in October and it's still going on to this date. And I'm going to have to ask you while we are on this session, what do you have to say about the green banner, open to work?
Yeah.
Should we put it on or should we take it off as job seeker?
Yep.
And the second part of the question is, what acts as a kryptonite for Superman? I mean, say for Superman, it's kryptonite. And what act as a kryptonite on LinkedIn to kill our reputation very fast? I know we have discussed this, but just to put it in a simpler way, could you tell me one thing which acts as a kryptonite for a LinkedIn profile? And the first question is about the green banner.
Okay, so the green banner one is one I'll go back to that says, I've got some advice, but this is a strictly personal choice. Okay, I'll look at it this way. I think if you take into account the statistics that I've seen here recently, is that for every minute on LinkedIn, another 7 people get a job. Okay, so it's still about getting a job out there. It's still focused on helping people get jobs out there. For every minute out there, 7 more people get a job through LinkedIn. Okay. Now that green banner can be a part of that. The key to the process, though, in many instances, is letting your network know that you are in the job search market, which is where that comes into play in terms of let recruiters know that you're looking, right? You turn that on, but then at the end of that, you get a choice. Okay, you get a choice to either turn on the green banner or not turn on the green banner. Okay, and it's a strictly personal choice. I will tell people that if they've heard people say that green banner makes you look desperate, I totally disagree with that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, and so it's really a matter for me of the fact that I'm telling my network, I'm letting my network know, I'm letting even people who come to my profile that are not in my network know that I am actually open to work and looking for a job. And unless you tell enough people, you probably are not going to get as many opportunities as you would before. So my recommendation would be to leave it on. Now, obviously, if you are in a job now and your employer does not know that you are actually thinking about going to the next place, well, that's why LinkedIn allows us to turn it off. Okay, because you can be looking for a job but not display the banner. Okay, so again, a personal choice, but if you want people to know, definitely display the banner. Makes the most sense to me. Put it out there so people can actually tell.
Awesome. I totally agree with that fact as well. When you're selling something, let people know that you're open for business. Isn't that simple?
Yep.
So that is the simple answer to these questions.
Yep.
And speaking of which, I also want to ask my audience to repost this live. so it can reach to many, many people. And also, it's a humble request. Please order the book, Be Effective, on LinkedIn. If you want to be successful on LinkedIn in 2025, then this is the book you need to read. It explains every aspect of LinkedIn in a very, very simple and an insightful and an interactive way. So I would request through my podcast, please order this book as soon as possible. The link is in the comments. Thank you. So moving forward with the session quickly, Jeff, to want to ask my audience to repost this live so it can reach to many, many people. And also, it's a humble request. Please order the book, Be Effective, on LinkedIn. If you want to be successful on LinkedIn in 2025, then this is the book you need to read. It explains every aspect of LinkedIn in a very, very simple and an insightful and an interactive way. So I would request through my podcast, please order this book as soon as possible. The link is in the comments. Thank you. So moving forward with the session quickly, Jeff, I hope that I'm not taking much of your time, but these are important, and I does not get to speak to you very often. I know how busy you are. So let's complete this quickly.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about the endorsements and the recommendations.
Mhm.
Are they relevant? Does they have any weightage when it comes to the LinkedIn profile? And if you doesn't find a single recommendation on a profile, does that mean that profile is not a genuine one?
Oh.
So how does that work? To be very honest.
Well, just because a person could be newer, so they might not have endorsements or recommendations. Obviously, recommendations is a separate section from endorsements because endorsements are related to skills, right? And again, it's important to, as I said before, the skills section is one of the top four sections that's most important in getting found. So putting those skills out there is important. But the next step is, and again, because LinkedIn is always monitoring, always using the algorithm to monitor what's going on with your profile. Okay. Obviously, the more endorsements that you have for those skills, that's better as well. Okay. The more linkages that you can make, the more people that say, yes, that's true. Okay. The better off that will be for you. So I always recommend that people, endorse other people because of the fact that, if you know someone and you know they have a skill, then you should endorse them for it. Usually that will get that person to reciprocate and give you an endorsement as well for a skill as well. So, yep, thank you. That's exactly where it's available on Amazon. That was an answer to a question. So, so putting those endorsements out there again, giving them and getting them is both important. Now, that's up front. The more you can do that up front, that will help you get found as well. But after you get found, that's when recommendations come into play. Remember, I said that there are four sections that help you get found. Well, having the right keywords in recommendations isn't one of them. However, having the recommendations is extremely important in terms of your social proof that you actually, can do what you say you've done, because it's definitely someone else saying that you have done that. Now, is one good? Is two better? Is three better than two? Yeah, maybe a little, but the point is just having something out there that's there. And again, part of my brand, if you will, is that my goal is to actually have given two recommendations for every one that I've gotten. Okay, so that's something that just as a part of my brand. It's something that I want to make happen. But it's extremely important if anybody ever takes the time to scroll down to see if you even have recommendations, that you have something there that someone else is saying that you can do what you say you can do. Okay, so yes, they're all important. There may only be a little additional bump if you are considering it from the algorithm standpoint, but you never know what the next person who comes to your profile and looks at it and reads it is going to see that someone else said about you. Because again, I have to assume that you got some of what you got from me and the way you introduced me by looking at my recommendations, because my recommendations are where it talks about the fact that I'm very knowledgeable, that the fact that I'm very giving, the fact that I'm adding value, the fact that I'm a good teacher, etc. So I can't see it, being not important at all. You have to. It's always a great addition. Any addition like that you can make, especially an addition like that you can make that is someone else's words, is just as important as any words that you put in on your own profile as well.
Awesome, awesome. Or do you also say or recommend, or do you advise on giving and taking recommendation from the same person to person?
There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't. I actually tell people, if I've given them a recommendation, that I'm not expecting one back. It's not supposed to be reciprocity here. Okay. And a lot of people will do it, but I don't really like it when I recommend someone and then 2 or 3 days later, they recommend me back. That looks like we're gaming the system. I don't want that to happen. I would rather they'd wait a month or 2 months before giving me back a recommendation. Now, obviously, that means I might actually have to go remind them, okay, to possibly do it. But honestly, it doesn't matter to me. As long as they got my recommendation, I'm fine with that. They do not have to give me a recommendation back. Okay.
Awesome. So now the most important question of them all: can I expect a recommendation from you?
I thought about that this morning, as a matter of fact. Yes. Yeah. Yes. You can expect a recommendation from me. Give me some time to think about it and put it out there. But I noticed that at least several other people who had been on your show had done exactly that. And that makes perfect sense to me. And I would love to recommend you as far as the process is concerned, and the valuable way that you went through this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
And also,
on my to-do list.
and also, Lubna, yes, the book is available on Amazon. If you click this link, you would be able to order it right away. It's very cheap. It's very, very cheap. Just do it right away. And it's available on Amazon. And I've put the link under the screen. So just copy the link and put it in your browser and you'll see the book. And also, if it is not available, if paperback is not available, do consider getting a Kindle membership and reading the book online. So a PDF version.
Yeah, you don't have to have a Kindle membership in order to read the Kindle book. You can actually read it through the Amazon site. So yeah, it's that simple. You don't even have to have the app on your phone, I don't think. So.
Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask you before we move further. See, there are people. I'm not taking names right now. There are people who says that they say fairy tales about LinkedIn and overnight success. And this has happened in this time. And I've started with 0 followers in the beginning of the month. Now I have around 900,000 or a million followers at the end of the month. And if you want to know how, just take my course, which is just $999.9.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about these people?
No, I don't think. I mean, I guess the rule of thumb that I would use here is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so just don't go there. I think that you could be more successful if you build relationships with other people on LinkedIn who are successful. Okay, and that's why, again, my tribe. I can't give my tribe enough credit. Because all of those people that I've mentioned today and all the people that have been out here, thank you so much, because I'll gain followers because of this, because people will actually go out there and follow me. And, if you follow me, please make sure that when you follow me, go up and click the bell and make sure you double ring the bell, because that will actually make sure that LinkedIn knows that you really want to see my stuff. as opposed to how relevant you and I are. That way you're telling LinkedIn that it's definitely you want to be notified every time I do something out here as far as the post is concerned, et cetera. So, do those kinds of things. Spend your time building relationships, not spend your time spending money to try to get that quick fix or the silver bullet because they just don't exist, I don't think.
Exactly. I also totally agree with that. And Mike, thank you for joining in. And he says, when your boss says you did a good job, just ask for a quick recommendation. It is easier in the moment
Yes,
than when you're looking to switch jobs. Yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, if they said it to you, they should be willing to say it on LinkedIn as well, right? I mean, LinkedIn and real life really should mold together and meld together. So if you would do something in real life, you should consider being able to do that and help people like that on LinkedIn as well. It's just a perfect illustration of a microcosm.
Okay, well, that's great. Jeff, this question has just reached me in private. I want to share this question with you. Okay. So the person says, his name is Barry. He says, I have only had two jobs in my career over the last 15 years. So I have zero experience with LinkedIn. This is a dumb question, I'm sure, but I want to be sure I don't, uh, you know, de- uh, I he has used some. I wouldn't be able to use that sentence, so I don't want to punish myself. Should I list my current employer if I may potentially look for another job? How can I be sure I don't ruin my current employment while staying open to other opportunities? Will creating a profile open me up to other asking me why I created a profile unless I am looking for another job?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that used to be the case. Remember when I said back in the old days that it was just about job search and just about having an online resume and et cetera. And there used to actually be a stigma. I agree. There are no dumb questions because I've been asked this lots of times before. Okay, uh, the point is that just it used to be that there might have been a stigma that says, oh, if you're on LinkedIn you're looking for a job. Well, that's not true anymore. Okay, because LinkedIn is so much more now, so much more about, as a matter of fact, one of the things that you could tell your employer is that I'd like to get a LinkedIn account because I'd like to help the company by commenting on what the company does as far as the company posts is concerned, right? So you can actually be an employee advocate and be on. And oh, by the way, even if that's not true, even if your company doesn't post anything or doesn't have anything out on LinkedIn, you should still help your employer realize that the fact that this is a networking platform and that's what it's about, and you will be better because you're networking with the existing people that you already work with plus people outside who you can learn from as well. So you could actually go outside and get the answer to a question that your company doesn't know the answer to because you get the experience of someone who's from the outside. So don't think that and again, you might want to have this discussion, with your boss or your employer. But it's so much different now than it used to be. It is so much more. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Normal, for lack of a better term, for you to be on LinkedIn now than it was before, because it's not about necessarily you're on LinkedIn because you're finding a job. It's because you're on LinkedIn because you need to network and want to network with your existing uh, co-employees and everybody else. It's it's just not the way it used to be. It's a totally different kind of platform.
Awesome, awesome. I hope that answers your question. And guys, I know that you're loving this session, and you are showing so much of enthusiasm, and you're sending me questions directly. But we need to take care of the time. I would take some private questions which are sent directly to me, two or three, but I wouldn't be able to take more because I see around 50 questions. What I say is, you get in you contact Jeff or you get in touch with him as soon as possible. And I might, I think I mean, say Jeff offers the first consultation for free. And
No, no, wait. I think this. I've got a better idea. You've been promoting me for the last 2 hours. Okay, let me return the favor and say, look, you do this for a living. So what I would recommend that people do is they contact you and they pay you to help them optimize their profile from the get go because you've been doing it for a while now and you're just as good at it as anybody else. So and I like I said, I don't remember one of the differences that you and I discussed before we started this show is one of the differences between you and me is that I don't do one-on-one training. I do LinkedIn seminars to big crowds like this. So I would rather, if somebody wants one-on-one training, I would send them to you in the first place. Okay, so I'd rather they would actually contact you and say, hey, Shaq, would you help me with your services? Because I think that would be the most benefit for them, rather than coming from coming to me. I'll answer anybody's questions that they want, but the point of it is, uh, they should really make sure that they take a look at your services and see if that you can help them as well. Okay, does that make sense?
thank you so much,
No, my
Jeff.
pleasure.
It's very kind of you and generous too. So, one more question, which is I think I should ask. This is private to me. It has been sent privately to me. So, this question is from uh, Koma Sato. He says, I am a current Master of Science in Data Science. He has a master's in data science, he says, and he says he's trying to find an internship for the upcoming summer. For the upcoming summer, I've already got rejected from several companies, and they don't give any feedback as to why they rejected me. Thus, I have started connecting with data scientists at companies that I am interested in via LinkedIn. However, I don't know how and what to ask them to eventually have a meaningful connection with them to lead to an internship interview. I would love to hear some example questions, recommendations on networking and getting internship. So this is a student, master student, and he needs some help and advice on networking.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I would ask my network. I would ask people other than data scientists how they think that it might work to get into an organization. And really, don't be afraid of asking the question of those folks that you just mentioned that you already have talked to. If the question I would ask would be, okay, I'm interested in being an intern for your company. What would have to happen for that to make that happen? Okay, and they should be able to answer your question if they even do internships. I mean, you got to ask that question to begin with, right? So to make sure that they even have an open possibility. So again, you never get the answer to a question that you don't ask. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask it. Don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to network outside of that area as well. Uh, Shaq, I don't know. I don't. I'm no expert in that field or anything along those lines, but and I'm not sure I know somebody who might be able to help them, but Shaq might know someone that would be able to point you in the right direction to find a person that you could talk to. And that's another question, by the way. When you have said something and you get an answer that is not yes, okay, that says, well, we don't have anything right now or anything like that. The next question I always ask someone in the networking process is, well, do you know of someone else that I should be talking to? Okay. Find that next person to ask that question of so that you can continue to keep the pipeline full of possibilities for open opportunity. Does that make sense? I mean, not a lot of that necessarily has to happen on LinkedIn, but it can.
Awesome. Exactly. I think Komakatsu, you got your answer. And yeah, reach out to me. I know people in the space, in the data science and the machine learning space. I am having a master's in artificial intelligence, so I've got good knowledge of the network. I've got a good network with these folks. Just get in touch with me, and I'll point you in the right direction, and I'll make sure that you get an internship. I wouldn't be able to promise any jobs, but internship for sure. Yeah, I know them pretty well, so they would love to offer you an internship opportunity. Thank you so much. Okay, so speaking of which, Jeff, the question which I wanted to ask you is about the premium and the normal account. What do you have to say about investing on LinkedIn? Do you think investing in a premium account makes a difference? Or, if a person is having a normal free account, has the same features as the premium account. So what do you say about investing on LinkedIn every month?
I think to keep this short and sweet, that because there's a lot of different possibilities and a lot of different packages that LinkedIn sells. Sales Navigator, business package, you know, the career package, you know, and,
Recruiter.
and recruiter, of course, yes. But the point is that I mentioned those because yes, there are reasons to buy LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn, one of the things that people don't realize about LinkedIn is a very big company and a very big company that sells stuff. Okay. I mean, last year, LinkedIn's revenue was over $16 billion. That's billion with a B. Okay. Now, 60% of that income was recruited. Okay. So now, if you can find a reason to pay for LinkedIn, it will help you. I guarantee you, you will get more capabilities. But me personally, I usually recommend what I what I what I really recommend is that you try to utilize as much of the free capability as possible before you pay for LinkedIn. Okay, because paying for LinkedIn isn't going to make you any better at it. I mean, that's the simple thing about it. Okay. So I have honestly the 17 years, the almost 21 years now that I've been on LinkedIn, I've never paid for LinkedIn. I've never had to. I never had to use. I can use it in the fashion that I need to use it to build my network, to build a following, to build my brand, etc. But again, there are reasons to pay for LinkedIn if you have certain criteria. And by the way, I would never tell you not to at least try LinkedIn for free. Okay. Try LinkedIn for free because they'll give you a free month. Okay. Go then out there and beat it up to pound on it as much as you can to make sure that you're utilizing as much of the premium capability as you can to figure out what it will give you in the first place. Okay. And then if it's not now do me a favor. At the end of that 30-day trial or et cetera, it's if you do not like it, okay, please do me and yourself a favor. I don't care what it takes. Put post-it notes on your refrigerator. Put neon signs on your garage. I don't care what it takes, but do something to get rid of LinkedIn and don't allow them to charge your credit card. Okay, because of the fact that if they do charge your credit card, they've got your money and you're not getting it back. Okay, but again, there are reasons to pay for LinkedIn. I haven't come up with a good one for myself yet because I can do what I need to do with the free version.
Awesome, awesome. That makes sense. To be very honest, I've been using. I had been in the past a premium user of LinkedIn, but I'm getting a real value while using this normal account, and it's good. It's giving me all the every now and then I get so many DMs and connections and everything. I mean, say it's better this way. I would say, and I totally agree with your point. And
And
and also, yeah, and also once you opt for the membership, the new users, I'm telling, it gives you around 6 months of free usage if you're a student, to be very honest, or if you're a veteran, if you were in the military. So 6 months, and also they give some discounts, so there are many other things which you can explore. And if you are a university student, it's for free. LinkedIn Learning is for free, so make good use of it. But I totally agree with Jeff. First, learn how to use the free features before getting the premium version. Premium version will give you in-mails, will give you the personalized invite thing, which are only 5 invites
Right.
for a normal user. So, and so to be very honest, first learn this platform. This is LinkedIn is an ocean of knowledge. There are many features which you haven't even explored yet. The first learn and then go for a premium package. That would be great. That would be awesome. So Marnie Kaufman says it's likely someone else is wondering the same thing. Okay, I have taken so much of time. I mean, see your precious time, Jeff.
I think, yep,
And
I'm gonna have to sign off here soon, but
sure,
I appreciate you taking the time, and I thank you again. I thank you up front, and I'll thank you again. Here at the end. Thank you for taking the time, because this was as much of a seminar as any of I've done here in the past few weeks. So that's been great. I didn't realize we were going to do this for 2 hours, but that's fantastic. I'm glad we were able to
it
provide
is.
two
It
hours
is.
worth of 2 hours worth of information.
And also it was so interesting that we never the time just flew by and we never even noticed it, and it
Yeah.
was so insightful. Thank you for this session, Jeff. And before we wrap up this session, I just want to ask you quickly one piece of advice for LinkedIn users in 2025 to be successful.
Use the tool, make it fun. Okay, it shouldn't be a job. It should be something that is just as valid as picking up a pen and using that to do something with it. It's a tool. Just learn how to use it. And if you don't know how to use it, ask the guru. Ask somebody. Ask Shaq. Ask me, because we're here to help. And I think that you will find in very little time that you will be better off than you ever were before, because you have a LinkedIn account and you've learned how to use the tool and make it do what you want it to do. Okay.
That's a philosophy, not
Yeah.
just a strategy, and it's powerful. So, Jeff, thank you. Not just for being here today, but for the decades of service, generosity, and wisdom you have brought to this community. You
Thank
don't just teach LinkedIn, you teach kindness, consistency, and connection, and we are all better because of it.
you.
To our audience, if you found even one golden nugget today, do me a favor, follow Jeff on LinkedIn, subscribe to his newsletter, the LinkedIn Guru Gazette, and send him a thank you message. He reads them all. And last but not the least, I would humbly request everyone to get his book at the earliest. And of course, follow me, Shaq, for more powerhouse conversations like this one. We are just getting started, because at Shaq Podcast, this is where icons speak. So until next time, I take your leave. Be happy and be curious and stay tuned. Thank you.